what is your view of analog versus digital?
Well, I think digital is. I think digital. I mean, the technology is better because you can do a lot more, and it's not as expensive. But at the same token, you don't have the same appreciation for music with digital because that's almost like the shortcut. You know, with digital, everything is synthesized. You don't have to deal with the musicians. You know, so and as you can tell through the music suffered because it's more like arrangements. It's not really production in the true sense of producing a song. It's more like you got guys arranging beats. And if you really analyze what music was in the early 200s to now, and from the 200s to the 90s, and from the 90s back to the 80s, you can see the progression to where it's not actually a progression, it's a degression because they're using less musicians. When you're making songs now, you're using less music people, and you're using more guys that just know the technology and they know how to arrange the beats. So, and you could, like I said, you can hear it in the music to where the music suffered from digital. Even though the technology got better and the sound quality is a little more profound, but I would still analog. Like if you listen to a Sugar Hill record that was recorded in analog, and even if they enhance it digitally, it sounds better because it had the analog sound, and it has a better production. So it's a better, that Sugar Hill sound is a better sound than the digital sound of today because it was more. It was from the onset. It was more well produced. It was more musicianship involved.
There seems to be nowadays a confusion amongst the younger ones that the difference between a producer and a beatmaker. You're getting a lot of really young ones jumping on the bandwagon saying, I'm a producer, and they're just like throwing the beats out every 5 minutes, just keep throwing the beats out. And the true meaning of production is a whole lot deeper, and we always try to get the message across what production really is,
Right, and another thing that they do as far as production wise that they take the shortcut. They have all of these features. You see what I'm saying? Like a real producer is like what Quincy did with Michael Jackson, or what a Diane Warren would do. You'll find an artist and you'll make that song that's tailor-made to them, for them. And then they'll sing a song, and then their craft would develop. Now, they just got a guy, he'll arrange the beat, for an artist, but then they'll find the hottest artist out, or somebody that's hot, and then they'll do the song, and it's almost by way of, you want to get a hit, but it's by way of a stacked deck. You're not getting, I'm going to write this song, and I think it'll be perfect, like what Babyface did for Tony Braxton. I'm going to write this album, I think it'll be perfect for Tony. That's production. But right now, you're doing a song, it's the beat is dope, and my man is on it, but if we can get Nicki Minaj to do it, if we can get Drake to be on the song, then it'll be a dope song. See, that's not production. Right. Once again, that's more or less like arranging a beat. That's not true. That's not production in the true sense of the word. Like as far as taking an artist and making an artist great through your production skills and your studio skills and your skills to bring in to make the song right, and the right background singers and the right arrangers. That's production. In the true sense of the word. Me. Being with Quincy Jones and to see how he worked and how he pulled the right people together, from the engineer, to the background singers, and it's an art to that. You have to be a well-rounded individual, and a lot of these young guys, they don't have the experience, the experience to be in the studio and to understand the true meaning of production. They just know. What the next guy did. They know what Kanye did, or they know what Swiss Beats does, and they just try to emulate that instead of just trying to understand what production is and hanging out with some of the legendary cats in the studio, or even reading up on it. They don't do that. They just try to copy what the next guy is doing, which is really like we all know, that's not necessarily production. That's more or less arranging beats.
I studied on what Quincy Jones was doing with Michael Jackson. I was watching all the documentaries and that. Because I'm a singer, I always had that dream that I could work with somebody that would that Michael Jackson would nearly be in tears because he hadn't got it right and Quincy was not having it. You know, he said you do it again and again until it's perfect. And I've always had a dream of being able to work with somebody who's going to push me and get the absolute best out of him. That's a real producer.
And that's what Quincy was really good for. Like what I would think was sufficient, for me to do, and what I would think would have been some of my best work. And he would like, that is like, okay, yeah, that's cool. We getting there. We getting there, but now we still got ways to go. And I thought I thought that was my best. I thought that was my best pitch right there. So and
raising the bar, no matter how high it is.
Right, and he would do that with Michael Jackson. I mean, him, and when he worked with Rod Temperton, the lead guy from Heat Wave, and how they would go about writing songs for Michael and all the preparations and even all the other people that they would bring in, even when their work wasn't good enough, they would have, and if they heard another song, they would find, they would get that person just to contribute a song to Michael Jackson, make sure that his album was the best album, even if it wasn't their work, but they wanted to make sure that it was the best album.
You just don't get it nowadays, so I'm so glad you said that.
And that's the difference between that Thriller album and every other, and just about every other record, R&B record, or anything in that era, and the Thriller era, is that they put so much work and so much and love for what they wanted Michael Jackson to be, and that's what made that album the success that it turned out to be, to this day, because they didn't pull no punches. They didn't spare no expense. They put everything into it. But they put everything into it, and it shows in how the album came out.
Yes, and also the artists themselves have to be willing to push themselves beyond where they've ever gone before. It has to be kind of like a two-way street, really.
Yeah,
they're willing to be brought to that level.
And the man is now, and for me, is the biggest problem with how artists are now. They just want to be too street. It's like if you take an artist like Chris Brown, who I always liked his music. I loved his sound. I loved his look. He looked like a nice young man, and now he looks like a rock star. He looks like he looks too street. It's like he went instead of being a polished artist, he's more raw. Like he kept the raw thing instead of being polished. He went whether it worked for him or not. I'm not going to be the judge of that. Time is going to be the judge of that. But if I was somebody that was advising Chris Brown, he would be a nice, well dressed young man with the voice of an angel and dance moves comparative to Michael Jackson. He would be He would be that kind of guy, but he, and he's not the only one that does it, so it's not a knock to him. They all do it. They just want to be too edgy. They want to be too street, and that's not necessarily an upgrade. That's more of an image than anything. And as far as longevity, I don't know how far you can get, because only thing somebody else got to do to outdo you. They don't got to be more talented. They just got to be more street. And then they'll knock you off.
Yes.
You know what I mean? They don't even have to come with a resume. Their whole thing will be like, yeah, well, he was raised in a group home and he sold drugs and he made his first record from drug money, and everybody will run toward him. And all the work that you put in, it don't mean nothing. Because of he came with a more edgier storyline, which has nothing to do with a talent or skill set.
Oh, it's crazy to me. It's crazy to me. But you're so right.
Way too good. Yeah.
I've kept you talking for a while, and I just wanted to double check with you. Okay, they can reach you, as you say, to book you through your email.
Exactly. That's probably like the easiest way.
Okay. Do you have any final words for the youth of today who are just getting started?
Well, I mean, I'm quite sure we all got different perspectives. But, I mean, the truth of the matter, the youth don't even want to hear what we got to say. You know what I mean? So, a lot of times, it's best for us to just lead by example, do what we do, and when they can look up and say, like, yo, you know what, at the end of the day, these cats been around 35, 40 years, still doing it, still looking good, and it's best just to lead by example, because if you try to tell them something now, only thing they're going to compare it to is what's going on now, the type of money all of them other cats have. So they look at you like, oh, well, if you have, have all that knowledge, how come you don't have what they have? So a lot of times, you want to help them, but a lot of times, sometimes just better to lead by example, especially with the youth, because they're so disrespectful now and caught up in, everything else but what's really real. So sometimes it's hard to really even get captured.
So true.
My advice to the youth, especially the young men, just pull your goddamn pants up if there's nothing else.
Right. You're right. Okay, but I also feel that if they want to aspire for greatness, they need to look at greatness. They need to observe greatness. They need to study their history and study you and study what you did. And although you're not where you want to be at this point, you're still giving. You're still giving. You're still giving. And those of us who love you and have followed you understand exactly what you're doing and have total respect for you.
Okay. Well, like I say, I mean, we definitely appreciate it, and which is true. But that goes back to the first half by example. Us just going to continue to do what we do. We're going to, sometimes you can show them better than you can tell them. One thing we definitely want to send a shout out to is our girl Sandy Beatman, you know what I mean? Because that's like our girl, you know what I mean? And, she ride with us, still riding with us, and, we just like to respect the people that always was there, and you know what I mean? And we're about to change the whole thing, and our whole team's going to be right in a second. So we just want to show back where it's all right.
Thank you so much for coming and speaking with us, and you dropped a lot of pearls, and I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
All right. Well,